welcome back to the Indie Hideout. And this episode I'm going to try something a little differently because I got an interesting mail from one of our viewers, and it basically asked, it asked two questions. It asked if I only play indie games, and it asked why I prefer indie games over AAA titles. So let me start by answering the first question, the easy question, and the short answer is no. I don't just limit myself to indie games. I try, when I've got the time, to play a little bit of everything, really, just because I enjoy a lot of games. There's very few games I don't enjoy, genre wise. I like to dabble in pretty much everything. As you can see from the video, I'm enjoying my fourth playthrough of my favourite FPS of all time, Metro 2033, and I am very excited for Metro Last Light to be coming out. It's going to be awesome. So now moving on to the second question, which is slightly more difficult to answer, and for that reason I've split it into 7 reasons why I prefer indie gaming over AAA titles. So bear in mind this is all in my opinion, but here we go. So reason 1, of course, is indie gaming is not all about profits. A lot of indie gamers, I mean obviously I can't speak for all of them, but a lot of indie gamers that I've spoken to and seen tend to, I mean obviously money is a part of it, because everyone needs to eat, but it's something more deeper than just the profits. They create these games to share an experience or a feeling, or express themselves, or just to try and be accepted by their audience. It creates a much deeper, they put something personal into the game, and it doesn't feel as hollow and empty as some of the AAA titles that get spewed out every couple of weeks. And also, due to the profit thing and the amount of money they have to spend on the game, they are much more likely to take risks on their game than AAA developers. AAA developers seem very scared to put certain content in their game or take risks with certain mechanics and things like this, because if it doesn't pay off, then it could fuck up their entire company. So indie gamers are a lot more flexible and can experiment a lot more. And number 2, reason 2 is a real big one for me. It's really pissed me off in the last few years, and that is the exploitation of mechanics and systems put in place to make gaming easier, and distributing things between developers and consumers is just being ripped apart and is now seen as a bad thing rather than a good thing. And of course I'm talking about DLC mainly. DLC is a fantastic idea. It's a great concept, but as usual, certain developers have just shit all over it for yet again the sake of profit. And it's so annoying to the point where it should be illegal, the shit they pull with this. I mean, DLC is a great idea. It allows you to pick up content that you want for what should have been a reasonable price, and content that maybe couldn't get finished in time, or as an afterthought to the original game's release. And yeah, this killed expansion packs, but then again, that's a good thing. It saves on packaging, the discs, all this shit. You don't have to run to the shops anymore to pick up a DLC, an expansion pack. And plus, I mean, who's gone and picked up an expansion pack and saw that there was, 20% of the content that they didn't give a shit about You know, like, yeah, you'd want maybe it's the new weapons, maybe it's the new race, maybe it's the new maps, but maybe you didn't have a care in the world for the new game mode or vice versa. So the DLC allowed you to pick and choose what content you wanted and deduct the price from that. So you didn't have to go on the shops and pick up a £20 expansion pack for only 50% of the content you wanted. You could pick and choose the content, but like I say, as usual, fucking companies come along and say, okay, how can we make the most money out of this, such and such, and they charge £5 for just stupid stuff like a costume or something stupid like that, rather than real content. And we're seeing it more and more nowadays, where developers are taking content or locking content on the disc and releasing it later. I mean, that is disgusting, really. I really find that despicable, and that really needs to stop. And I just full out refuse to buy a game that does that, even if I've loved the past titles, or the game looks really good, or I've played it with a friend and it is really good. I will just not buy it, because just on principle, I'm not willing to support a company that exploits people and systems in that way. So yeah, and hopefully if enough people just flat out refuse and don't give in, then developers will have to rethink their strategies on money grubbing. And as for stuff like DRM, that sucks balls. They're just trying to stop. They say it's pirates, but come on, I mean, you're preventing people from, you know, getting second-hand games. I mean, come on. As a kid, that's all I could afford before, was second-hand games. And if it wasn't for that, then there was a lot of games I would have missed out on. So, come on. I mean, a lot of developers are clicking on that DRM. Isn't working. It's bullshit. Just trying to get more money. You're cutting off a large chunk of the audience that can't afford brand new games, because they're like 40-50 quid a pop. I mean, who the fuck can afford that? I mean, really. So, I mean, you've seen EA drop the DRM system from a lot of their games, because it doesn't work. If you don't have internet access, you can't play your game. If the servers go down, you can't play your game. It's just terrible. I mean, look at what happened to Diablo launch. It's a perfect example. This video is going to be a lot longer than I thought. God damn you, ranting. Okay, so third reason is more respect for their audience, and this kind of ties in with everything I've spoken about before, which is the profits and the exploitation. If you're exploiting a system, then you are most definitely exploiting the players. Now, come on, a little bit of respect for your player base is a must-have, in my opinion. If you don't have respect for your player base, then your player base is not going to respect you. And of course, there's lots of different ways I can go on this, but the one I'm going to focus on is ripping people off. If someone is ripping you off, then they do not respect you. And that's what we see all of the time in AAA titles, is people just getting fucking ripped off and conned. And I'll give you 2 examples of this. One was ages ago, when I used to be a World of Warcraft player, and I stopped because they were just ripping you off, pretty much. They would charge you £35, £40 for an expansion pack, and then not let you play the game until you paid them another £9. What the fuck is up with that? I just bought your game. The least you could do is give me a month to play it. I know your subscription game, but charging me a full game release price for a game that I then cannot go home and play is bullshit. That is a con. That is a rip-off. I don't care how they dress it up. That's what it is. A more recent game where I felt like I was completely ripped off was the War Z. They sold a broken game that didn't work. It it was just terrible. It had so many bugs, it was full of hackers, the servers constantly went down, you died all the time, and then they exploited you with the microtransactions. So not only did they get you to buy a broken ass game, they then wanted you to pay microtransactions for equipment that you can lose. Like you could spend £10, log into the game, die to a bug instantly, and then all your shit would be lost. Or you could get owned by a hacker in a split second, and that's that £10 gone. You've lost that. That's it. And the most recent thing that they did was the whole increase the death timer. I like the idea of the death timer, but increasing it to 4 hours and then saying you can pay to remove it? Fuck you. So there you go. It's not only AAA titles that disrespect the player base. You've got some indie titles out there that do exactly the same. But I do feel as though it's majority AAA over indie. I mean, obviously there's some... It's not all black and white, but, you know. Woosah. Okay. Reason number 4. I believe indie games are more meaningful than AAA games. And what I mean by that, it gets back to what I was talking about earlier, where I feel indie developers more than most of the time tend to put a little bit of themselves into the game. You get insight into their personality, or maybe some experience or feeling they want to share with their audience. And you get this from games like Limbo, and let me think of some more. Diaresta, and hell, even The Binding of Isaac. Like the intro to that, the entire premise of the game. That really goes deep into something a lot more than just running around shooting things. And I hope at least a few people understand what I mean by that, because I didn't explain that very well at all. Okay, reason 5 is gonna sound like a bit of a strange one, and that's worse graphics. Indie games have worse graphics. They don't have as big of a budget, so they have worse graphics. And I think this is a good thing, because it means the developer has to think of other ways to attract their audience, and that is through their gameplay or some other means. And they create innovative mechanics just to it just leads to more creativity rather than just relying on graphics to do all the creativity for you. There we go. I think that's what I mean. God damn, this is hard, trying to get your opinion across without sounding completely batshit retarded. Alright, so we're almost at the end. Reason 6. Indie games do not rape your wallet. Most indie games tend to be completely free, which allows you just to play games and enjoy them without having to break your bank. It's and it's not to say that these free games are worse than paid games. That's not by a long shot. There's a lot of free games out there that are just brilliant. I mean, you've got games like Slenderman that is just blown up, and it's huge now, and that's completely free to play. What else have we got? We've got let me think. Tag's a really good game. There's another horror one that I played, SCP Breach or something like that. That was also completely free to play and a really awesome game. And because I'm a student, I really do not have a lot of money to spend on anything. So that's really cut back on a lot of the games I can play. So indie gaming is perfect for me, really. I can pick up, I mean, all the games I've picked up recently have been like, you know, £2, £3, £4, £5, and that kind of thing. And the great thing is, I wouldn't be able to do giveaways on AAA titles because the games are just too expensive. I can't buy multiple copies of the game, whereas with indie games it'll only set me back like maybe £4 or £5, and I can do that. That's doable. So yeah, it provides great opportunities for things like that for me, and opens up a whole new audience of gamers who might not be able to pick up them really expensive AAA titles that set you back maybe it's £100 for 2 games, brand new or something stupid like that. You know, normally I'm having to, beg on all fours at Christmas, come on please give me the AAA titles, show me you love me, that kind of thing. And last but not least is reason number 7, and that is that it's easier to influence it's easier for the player base to influence the game, and that's because communication between the developer and the player base is a lot easier and a lot smoother, and the reason for that really is just, I guess, popularity, I think is the right word to use. Obviously if you have, millions and millions of people sending you messages every 5 minutes, you cannot possibly get through all of them. And so getting players to influence a AAA title is a lot more difficult, I think. And as we saw with Mass Effect 3, you have to have a huge outcry to be able to do something like that. So I think it's a lot easier to influence an indie game, if the developer wants to listen to their player base. So yeah, and that's kind of not just picking on AAA titles, but I guess it is down to how much the developer wants their game to be influenced at the end of the day, and how much they want to pay attention to their player base. Yeah, so that's it. Sorry if that was not the answers you were looking for, but that's the best I can do, I think. Before I give myself a migraine thinking about this too much. Anyway, if you liked the video, please subscribe and enter this week's competition for Divine Cybermancy. And if you want to join in bitching and raging, then please do so. It is pretty good stress relief, or the opposite in some cases. So yeah, pop a comment below, let me know what you think, and if I get any more interesting questions from viewers, I will be happy to make another video, hopefully maybe shorter than this one and less dark. Yeah, so enjoy your gaming guys, and see you next time. Bye.